Hey Squishies, welcome back to another vlog. This is 7 Deadly Sins, Season 1, Episode 4, and I have no memory whatsoever of what the title was. Once again, I apologize in advance if there's any sneezing, coughing, sniffling, etc. in this video. I am still sick. But otherwise, let's jump on in. So, this was the best episode so far. And it was the best episode so far for a simple reason. It had almost no Meliodas in it. He sticks his fucking head up Elizabeth's skirt once. But other than that, he spends the entire episode where he belongs. Unconscious and possibly dead. I really just, his absence in this video really nailed home how much I just hate him as a character. He's just the worst. Okay, we get a scene in this episode where all these people are praying to be delivered from the oppression of the Holy Knights. And then this bolt of lightning comes crashing down and destroys their church or temple or whatever it is. And it's Gilthunder, and he just walks through this wrecked church with all these people strewn about injured. And it's the point is he's a bad guy. He does not care about the suffering of the people around him, because he sees them as beneath him. Well, guess what? That's exactly how Meliodas treats Elizabeth. He does not give a rat's ass about how she feels about anything. To him, she is just a body that he can use to amuse and titillate himself. And he's disgusting. So screw Meliodas. The end of this episode teased me with the possibility that he has been poisoned and will die, and I hate the fact that I already know next episode he won't be, because he's in the goddamn opening credits. He's gonna survive somehow, he's gonna come back and be better and fight, and I hate it. Just stay dead, dude. You suck. Give me a show that's about Diane and Elizabeth becoming friends and fighting evil. Maybe that band guy seemed pretty cool. He was introduced in this episode. I actually liked him a lot. I just like the image of this guy that's supposed to be being under unrelenting, intense torture, and he's got this huge "I've been in prison forever" gray beard, and he's just humming. He's having fun. He doesn't mind at all. And I thought that was hilarious. I enjoyed what we saw of the fight between him and blanking on her name? I'm actually not sure. The junior kind of squire or apprentice knight or lower ranking knight or whatever to the team of 4. With the blue ponytail. The voice was kind of ambiguous, so I'm not sure. But on the other hand, they don't have, tits out to here and practically nothing on, so they're probably a man. Because that appears to be the two kinds of character this show has. Men and women who are drawn by men who need to get laid. It's the same problem comic books have. Superhero comics. A lot of them are written and drawn by men who really obviously have not been laid in a long time. Which is entirely and only their own faults. I do continue to like Diane, but it's getting harder because she's all Meliodas, and it's have a personality of your own, girl. I like the parts where she's like, I am just this, like, young, small girl. And she's, 80 feet tall or whatever. I was under the impression that she was a human whose size was like some kind of superpower thing, like all the Holy Knights seem to have superpowers. But apparently no, giants are a thing and she is one. So that's cool. I actually kind of like that, although I'm not a fan of the whole, like, she's wishing she was small thing, because that does a thing that a lot of science fiction and fantasy does that's an issue, which is, and I refer to it as the Star Trek problem, because Star Trek is one of the places where it's most prominent, but it's also, like, present in a lot of other fantasy and science fiction, which is humans are normal and everyone else is a deviation from human. So, for example, humans are normal, giants are really tall humans, and they know that humans are normal. That's why Diane wants to be small, because that's normal. And no, like, humans are normal for humans, but normal for giants, humans are tiny. It's like normal is just a matter of perspective. And the reason this is an issue is that racism, basically. A lot of racism is built around the idea of there's a dominant race that is normal and neutral, and everything else is a variant on that. And we see that a lot in our culture, where, like, ethnic food means stuff that comes from cultures other than white people. White people, like, there is such a thing as white ethnic food. It's like mayonnaise and Jello molds and, that kind of stuff. But, like, even stuff like Italian, which sometimes gets lumped in with ethnic food, that's because, like, 100 years ago, Italians weren't considered white. And that's why it's, like, kind of on the border, because now they are considered white, so it's, like, in between. And it is an issue, because when you treat one group of people as the default and everyone else as different, that encourages looking down on them. We tend to privilege what is normal over what is not. And instead of the idea that there's, like, multiple different ways of being normal, and normal for you is not normal for them, we get this idea of there's one normal, and everything else is a variation of it. And that's exactly what's being reflected in the Star Trek problem. It's especially egregious in stuff like Star Trek, where humans have a monoculture. Like, I know this is off topic, but it really bugs me that in Star Trek, everything we see of humanity is indistinguishable from late 20th century liberal urban America. Because that's very far from the only way to be human. But the implication is that not only is human normal and everything else is weird, but that particular kind of human is the only normal, and everything else is a deviation from it. And here and there we get little hints of other culture, but they're, like, again, they're treated as, like, add-ons. They're treated as deviations from the normal, like in Deep Space Nine, Cisco's like, cooking of Cajun and Creole cuisines. I forget which one it is. I think it's Creole that he cooks. He is treated as, like, that is treated as an aberration, as something that is out of the norm of how humans do. And that's not okay. It's not as bad as overt racism against real-world races, obviously, but it's part of the same pattern. It's an indicator that there's some of that lying underneath. And it's part of what has to be pulled out by the roots, you know? We can chop down the, you know, we can cut down the weeds of racism all we want, but until we pull up the roots of these ideas of like, this is normal and everything else is not, they're always going to grow back. That's kind of the point here. And I've gotten way off topic of Seven Deadly Sins. But that's because, honestly, I don't know I have much to say about this episode, other than, yes, give us more of not Meliodas. I really like Ban. I hope he doesn't turn out to be awful, because we haven't honestly had that much of him. I don't like that Meliodas and Diane, like, their immediate reaction to each other is to fight over a dude. Because, again, I feel like that's just... It's very stereotypical and very, like, teenage boy fantasy. Like, this is something that someone who has not spent much time about women thinks women are like, or more accurately, wishes women were like, you know? In my experience, women don't fight about men very much. Any more than men fight about women all that much. That really does seem to be mostly a thing that only happens in fiction. And plus, I just don't like the idea that we've got two women in this show and they immediately dislike each other. Like, I want them to be friends. Like, why do Elizabeth and Diane not get along while Meliodas constantly mistreats Elizabeth and Elizabeth and Meliodas do get along? And the answer is because this is written by someone who thinks that their audience wants to be able to act like Meliodas and get away with it and even be rewarded for it. With having cute girls like them. And to me that suggests that the person who wrote this feels that way. And to which I can only say, dear whoever created Seven Deadly Sins, grow up. Still, it was a fun episode. It actually was. This was genuinely fun. I really enjoyed getting to see Diane's power. It's cool. She's an earthbender, and I like that. Plus, that is I was not expecting that to be effective against insects, but I like that it was. So that was cool. I want to see more of Diane fighting. You know, I like her ability. Honestly, I was expecting her ability to just be she's really big. And I like that it's something else. I'm now curious. Bond's ability appears to be healing, but I'm wondering if he also has something else going on. Although, frankly, just healing from everything is a pretty good ability. Because, I mean, you can just, especially since he doesn't appear to feel pain either, he can just, like, walk into a wall of spears or whatever and just let them all pierce him, and then, congrats, you don't have your spears anymore. Like, there's all kinds of stuff that you could do if you healed and didn't feel pain that a normal person could not do, you know? You could... I actually once started writing, never really got very far with it, and this was like a decade ago. But I had a fanfic I was working on where one of the characters had these kinds of accelerated healing powers, and they were part of a, like, family line that had that. And they had their own martial art that was based on, like, deliberately pushing yourself past the safe limits of what your body could do. Like doing things that dislocated your own joints or tore your own tendons because you knew they'd be healed a few seconds later. That a normal, like, fighter could not do. And so I would love if we got some of that, but even just, like, the guy who can heal just being smug about the fact that people are trying to injure him is always fun. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to more Ban, I'm looking forward to more Diane, I'm not looking forward to more Meliodas. And I think that about sums it up. So I'll see y'all next time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. There should be a link to my Patreon showing up right about now. And yeah. Bye!